had never liked my old classmate Monday. No, not just because his name is the same as the dreaded first day of the work week, the day which evokes the broken promise of a glorious weekend of endless free time that always slips through our grasp in an instant, leaving us back where we started. But because Monday the man, well, he always left me back where I started, even if I wasn't sure exactly where that was. Let me explain. It all started in middle school. My mom had baked a large plate of cookies for me to share with the rest of the class. Mom, I told her, this is not kindergarten, but she just smiled and said, oh, the other kids will love it. Isn't it time you actually started to make some friends? But Monday took that plate straight out of my hands and he delivered the cookies to all the prettiest girls, saying, I made these just for you. And I was so ashamed of my own weakness that I didn't protest with nary a word. When we got to high school, Monday would borrow my homework to prepare for the history tests. He never did any of the reading, but he would spend a spare 10 minutes going through my notes, which I had diligently memorized after reducing them to key points on index cards, and he would invariably do better on the test than me. He would gloat. My dear friend, if you have to do that much work to get A's, you must not be very smart. And then with a chuckle, he would saunter away. It drove me simply crazy. I was convinced he was cheating, copying my notes onto his wrists or little folded pieces of paper, but the teacher, Christopher Markham Lowe, thought Monday was the best thing since sliced bologna, not knowing how much bologna it really was. When I didn't want to give him my notes for the next test, he would promise to choose me for his team when we played basketball in gym. He knew how desperately I yearned to fit in. Oh, we all need help then, Billy boy, he would proclaim. We all need help. And sad to say, no one is likely to choose you if I don't. I mean, I had a great outside shot, even though there was less than an outside chance it would actually hit the backboard, much less go through the basket. But even when he did choose me, I had to sit on the sidelines, and I was only allowed to play at the very end of the game and only if we were way ahead. During my college years, I occasionally heard about Monday from my mother. Monday, who was going to Harvard, won this award for academic prowess or that honor for designing silk screen patterns for the shirts of the debate team. Monday had a double major in both brain theory and, of all things, studio art. Yes, it even seems he even had a brilliant hand when it came to 3-color printing. Mother wanted to know why the small Midwestern college I attended didn't have classes in brain theory. I tried to tell her we were too busy actually using our brains to waste time theorizing on how they worked. She was not amused. She would ask, why do you insist on studying Old English and Latin? Couldn't you at least learn a nice language that is spoken by people who are actually alive? And then we could go to the Bahamas or even Paris, and you could order me a pina colada in the native tongue. I tried to tell her that I didn't think the people in France drank pina coladas, which were actually invented in Puerto Rico, but she just found other things to complain about, like, aren't you ever going to have a girlfriend? Seems Monday had been engaged 3 times already. I wanted to point out that this was a rather extravagant waste of fiancés, but what was the use? Monday's own mother was convinced that he would father 10 brilliant children, run for the Senate, and then be elected president. Or at the very least, he would become the CEO of a major corporation or open a new ice cream company to compete with Ben and Jerry's. I envisioned his advertising. Chocolate sundaes with Monday's ice cream will make your whole week a sweet success. Fortunately, he never did try that line of work, as I rather like ice cream myself. For several years, I heard very little about Monday, though Mother often asked me how he was doing. She seemed almost more interested in his welfare than mine. It's too bad you didn't stay friends. I'm sure he has lots of influential connections and could finally help you move on from being an associate professor. Then, after 5 years, I was to run into Monday again. I had finally completed my PhD thesis on the missing pieces of the medieval French poem of mythical creatures, the Physiologus. And I was hoisting a few with friends in a local British pub, and who should be standing behind the bar but Monday. Monday, I said, is that really you? And at first, he pretended not to recognize me, but then he unleashed that broad, unmistakable smile as if he had swallowed the sun and was just letting it shine back at me out of the kindness of his heart. And he said, Billy, old friend, is that really you? Monday, I inquired as gently as I could, trying to stem the rising tide of glee inside me. What are you doing here? What does it look like? He replied. I'm pouring beers for you and your rather rotund friends. I can see why you keep them around. They make you look veritably svelte in comparison. My good boy, I said to him very firmly, someday these people will be some of the top philologists in the country. Oh yes, I heard from my mother that you were dabbling in words people don't use anymore. Didn't surprise me since no one ever understood what you were saying in the first place. Lucky you had me around today to translate, or you never even would have been able to order your own lunch. Though one or two less sloppy joes might have been all the best in the long run. Don't you agree? And how have things turned out for you, Wilton? I asked him. See, I knew he hated anyone calling him Wilton when his name was really William, like mine. He preferred to be called Monday so that no one would confuse us in class, and I was just supposed to ignore the insult like a sharp slap on my face that left me rosy-cheeked well into my 20s. But how are you doing now? I replied with a smile that was more like the moon shining out of a jack-o'-lantern. Oh, just fine. Do you own this place? I asked, breathlessly, already knowing the answer. No, but it is in the family. My uncle, well, okay, not my real uncle, but one of Mother's oldest friends owns it, and he needed a reliable manager for the weeknights. So like you, isn't it, to celebrate on a Wednesday? I just finished the defense of my dissertation this morning. But tell me, what happened to your advanced degree in neurology? Oh, that was ages ago, old friend. I was offered a fellowship at Oxford, but I decided in the end to turn it down. Why ever did you do that? I asked. Was it because of a girl? If I hadn't known him better, I would have almost thought Monday was starting to blush, something I had never known him to do, not once in almost 20 years. Afraid not, my friend. It's true I should have applied for that Rhodes Scholarship, but you know how it is. I couldn't do everything. What with the International Badminton Championships in Seoul, the printmaking masterclasses I was teaching at the Met in New York, and the conferences in Bern, Switzerland on brain theory. Then what went wrong? Wrong. Did I say something went wrong? Perhaps I just needed a little break. That's all. A little time to myself. Is that so strange? Is that so very odd? Is it so peculiar that you would need to come up here to this counter when I am working and doing a right good job of it, drawing the best head of beer this century or last, and incessantly and cruelly harassed me nearly to the point of tears? After all, my dear Billy, that we had been to each other in the past. I was so astonished by this outbreak of emotion and by the flood of wet sobs that followed that I didn't hardly have the heart to point out to him that he had been the bane of my existence for the entire time I had known him. I'm sorry, Wilton. I mean, Monday. I could only stutter. I'm terribly ashamed of myself if I've done something to cause you harm or dismay. Are you well? Is your mother well? Mother is fine. Thank you for asking. She just became the head of the Artichoke Society of Long Island, where we have our summer home. Oh, very nice. Then what is it? Please do tell me. You know what, Billy boy? You may be the only one I could tell. Why? Because you're always secretly fond of me and respected my compassion, sensitivity, and intelligence. No, not exactly. But given what a disappointment your life has been, I thought that you at least might understand. I was nominated for the highest award in my field, and I was absolutely certain I was going to receive it. Mother already had a banquet hall arranged. And then I started to hear rumors that it was actually going to Dolores Mary Young. Very bright, mind you, but not at my level. Never. In fact, between fiancés 1 and 3, she had been for a while in the running for fiancé 2. But then it seems she did win, after all. Dolores Mary Young, her name rang out from the podium, all because of her paper on sense and synapse and the bicameral mind. Oh yes, I know that should have been my award. Hadn't I, in a moment of weakness, also shared my notes with her that night we were all alone in her room? My entire theory on the cosmic maze of the brain. No, you didn't. Yes, I'm afraid I did. She said I was only worth a minor footnote. What unmitigated goal? Indeed. So, what did you do? Oh, my mother wrote to the president of the school and threatened to withdraw our donation. A very sizable one, I might add. But he only snickered and said, unfortunately, we have already used it to pay for the new wing on the neurology cafe. Also, some budding brain surgeon could have an iced frappe whenever he wanted it. Can you believe it? Great catchphrase. So I did the only thing I could. I resigned from the school. No. Yes. No! Yes, I did, to keep my pride intact. How very sad, I wanted to say, but the very last moment I changed it to, how very noble of you. And what will you do now, my dear friend? I don't really know. But I am very good at drawing a mean draft of Heineken's. I'm thinking of opening my own brewery. Really? Yes. Not ice cream? No, whatever made you think of that? I don't really know. Turned away, of course, so he wouldn't see my slight smile. The thing is, Billy, maybe you had the right idea all along. You are happy, aren't you? Yes, I suppose I am, though I haven't ever been engaged, not even once. Really? Well, if you ever need any advice on ladies, you know where to find me. Yes, I do. So very good to see you again. Is it? You too. You too. Good luck. The same. And then, filled with a glee that could not be attributed entirely to the 3 beers and shots I already consumed, I went back to my friends, and they thought I was just giddy with the occasion. In fact, that was the first time that I had the courage to ask out Sarah, who at the time was a colleague of mine and is now my wife and the co-chair of the English department here at the university. And now here we are raising a swarm of old English speaking, Latin parsing toddlers who will dominate the playground at the British school. But it was only later the next day, after the hangover had subsided and I was parsing through a particularly stunning missing section of the Physiologus, that it came to me. I had been envying Monday all these years for no good reason. I am happy with what I do. And the pride that led him to make such a cataclysmic mistake made me realize he wanted to be more like me. How very odd. And someday when his brewery opens, I should make it a point of being his first customer. So here at my desk, I raise my cup of cappuccino that I got from the new cafe in the neurology department to William Monday, from his old best pal, Dr. Bill. And the funny thing is, ever since then, Mondays have been my favorite day of the week.
So, you think I am just like this Monday guy? Is that it? Is that why you told me that story?
No, not at all. He was engaged a lot, sure, but he didn't have the guts to get married even once. You at least have tried, and I can respect you for that.
For being a glutton for punishment?
No, for being a romantic at heart.
Well, I hadn't thought of it that way, but maybe you are right.
Why, you're not thinking about getting married again, are you?
Hell no. Why, do you know someone?